Hello. And welcome to Project Mosquito. Hey, that was good. So, this week we fancied a bit of a break. Life's been a bit crazy this week, so we asked you for your questions. And this is your first Q&A.
First one I've ever done.
This will be fun. A lot of people have been asking for a dad Q&A for some considerable time. So, let's get stuck in, shall we? Lawrence Jesterton says, on these projects, I always have certain tasks I'm really worried about doing. Some end up being really easy, others in fact quite difficult. Have you had any of these on Mosquito? Or what worries you the most? What worries you most in the upcoming months?
Actually, nothing. There's no problems at all. The main thing is, if whatever job you do, if you take it and make it into small pieces, you can look at the overall thing, but break it down into small jobs. So every job's small and easy to do.
Yeah. And don't think about anything else. When you're doing the one job you're doing, just do that job and make that one job the absolute best you can make it. And nothing else in the world exists other than the thing that you are currently doing. But yeah, it's really easy to get overwhelmed, isn't it?
Yeah. So my advice, take it steady, break it down into much smaller jobs, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. It's a bit easier for Dad, because Dad's kind of done this kind of thing before. You've never built a Mosquito before.
No.
But you've built rally cars and trains and aircraft and all that kind of thing.
Jet engines.
Yeah. So for you, it's...
JCB fast tracks.
Yeah. So for you, it's like a process that you are familiar with.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, it's kind of it's my first time doing such a big project from scratch kind of thing. And I'm used to kind of fixing other people's bodge stuff rather than actually being able to start something from scratch.
Yeah.
And so that's...
And work basically with anything like this, whether it's building a house or doing a car, building a car or repairing a car, it's basically just knowing your materials.
Yeah.
So if you're working with steel, find out as much as you can about the material. If you're using carbon fibre, find out as much as you can.
Yeah.
And what makes it work.
Definitely. And something that you said to me the other day, actually, is to have faith in your own work. Like, have confidence in your own work. Because I'm doing a lot of things that I've never done before. A lot of this stuff is all for the first time. And I second guess myself. And I know what I'm doing is right. And I spend longer second guessing myself and checking and rechecking and checking and rechecking.
No, that's not a bad thing, but you just...
No, it's not, but it can get a bit ridiculous and you get nothing done.
Confidence in what you do.
Yeah, and you turned around to me and you said, look, Oliver, just relax, have confidence in what you're doing. You've done this before, you know what to do, and just have faith in your own hands that you kind of, you know where you've been and you know what you're doing. Because, like, one thing you say is that all jobs are related.
Yeah. That's what I said. It's the only thing that makes a job different is the material that you're using.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, a straight line's a straight line, whether it's on a piece of wood, a piece of metal, or a piece of carbon fibre.
Yeah. Whereas, like, people who are specialists in stuff, they don't tend to see the fact that, like, anything to do with geometry is all geometry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So whether you're making a bookcase or a roll cage, geometry is geometry.
Geometry's the thing.
Yeah. Okay, Manu Perea 6 says, well, seeing how the Cox GTM was a car of high significance to you, I'd like to hear what dream project car your dad has. And and if making the Mosquito and seeing how the project is going made him consider a personal project. No, I just want to say, the reason why I'm reading these is Dad's as dyslexic as I am. But I don't require glasses. Right, so that's why the terrible English is coming from me.
Right, it's a project car.
Well, dream car.
Dream car.
Yeah, I know the answer to this.
Well...
I know it changes a lot, but there is one consistent one.
Well, an Alpine A110.
Yeah, Alpine A110, 1600 Group 3.
No, it's got to be a Group 4 car.
Group 4.
Got to be a Group 4 car or even a Group 5 one, which are rare as hen's teeth. The last ones are made with a proper wishbone rear suspension.
The wishbone rear suspension and a 2-litre twin overhead cam Gordini engine.
Spec engine.
and they're as rare as Rocky Noise.
Or if I had somebody else build a car for me, I would love one of these SMT. MST. Motorsports Tools. Mark 1 Escorts.
Yeah, they're the Mark 1 Escorts that are made in Wales, yeah?
Yeah.
Like brand new.
They're building brand new panels, and so there's no rust to worry about. There's nothing. I've had a few Escorts in my time.
Yeah. Well, your first car was a Mark 1, wasn't it? Mark 1 van. That had 3 wheels. But no, you've had RS2000s.
I've had 2 RS2000s. I've had a Mexico.
Yeah.
I've had a 1300E, which was my first Escort that wasn't a van. So yeah.
So you go backwards, yeah?
Yeah.
And what about a personal project? What's a personal project you always wanted to build?
Don't know. This, I suppose.
Yeah, actually.
Because your first time we saw a GTM, we were at Three Sisters kart circuit in Wigan.
In Wigan.
Watching a sprint.
Yeah.
And there was a GTM there and you fell in love with it.
Yeah. And I've wanted to build this car ever since. I've wanted to build this car with you.
Yeah.
That's always been my thing.
So yeah, this is it.
In fact, the whole YouTube thing for me is amazing because, like, when I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was open a garage with my dad and build cars. But I'm terrible at selling things, and being self-employed taught me that I hate working for other people. So doing YouTube, I can just make awesome stuff, whether it's for you or whether it's for me, and we don't have to worry about selling it. So we can actually keep it and make it awesome. Next, sorry. I don't have facial recognition on my phone because it's smashed. And Oliver, have you thought about a colour? Same person. Have you thought about colours for the Mosquito and wheels? I have thought about colours for the Mosquito. I have chosen the colour for the Mosquito and the interior colour, and I have wheels. I just haven't shown them to you yet. Right. But I'm not telling you what it is yet.
Shortly.
Yeah, my tyres are on the way. I have ordered them. Sugar. And lastly, I want to say thank you to you both and the camera woman. You're very welcome. Speaking of the camera woman, the lovely Miriam, who is my partner, who is behind the camera on these videos, shortly, we are going to be restarting Miriam's channel as a second channel of this channel, because all of the barn videos that I've made in the past of building my house, which is actually next door to this workshop and this workshop, are kind of not in line with the algorithm and the way that YouTube works now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to move all those videos onto a second channel, and you're going to have even more videos to enjoy. So if you subscribe to this channel for kind of the gardening stuff, the house stuff, and the solar panels and the well videos, all of you that have been asking for those videos, that'll all be on a separate channel very, very soon. And when it goes up, there will be a link to that channel at the end of this one. And that'll be me and Miriam, or Miriam and I, and occasionally you. Because Dad's next door, so. Andrew Stamper says, hi, I just discovered your channel last week. Hi, Andrew.
Hello.
And binge watched all the Project Mosquito videos in one weekend. Good man. And big fan of What Are You Doing? It still weirds me out that people binge watch our videos, like with Game of Thrones or something. Like the fact, because we don't realise that we're on TV, we just make videos and throw them into the ether. And occasionally the ether shouts back, thank you. And that's always nice to hear. Could you tell us more about what it takes to make a car like Project Mosquito road legal? I assume you can't re-register it as the same kit car after an entirely redesigning the frame in this way. Right. So it's a bit of it's a bit depending on where you are in the world,
where you live, because different areas have different rules.
Yeah,
like California.
Well, even in California has different laws to the rest of America, because they have to do all the carb legal stuff and all that. And if you're in California and you have a project car and it wasn't made before, I think, 1974, you're crazy, because then you have to do all the smog stuff and everything has to be stamped with like a clean air sticker and all has to be certified. If you're in Germany and stuff, it all has to be TÜV. If you're in the UK is pretty chill about stuff, really. Glass has to have EU stamps on it and stuff like that. Here in France, there's a big misconception. This isn't a modified car. This is a completely rebuilt car. Even in the UK, I would have to register Mosquito as kind of a unique car, not as a GTM. In America, as long as your windscreen frame and your headlight surrounds are the same.
Yeah, that's how Singer get away with it.
Yeah, because Singer, the 911s, they strip the entire body off the car and they just leave like the inner skeleton frame and they've reclad it all in carbon fibre and the engine isn't original and none of the suspension's original. And they're registered as a Singer, aren't they? They're a unique car. They're not a Porsche, which is why it's like reimagined by Singer. We'll have to do a similar sort of thing.
Well, in fact, they got in trouble for that, didn't they?
Yeah, Porsche.
Mark from Porsche.
Porsche got upset because they put Porsche logos on cars that aren't Porsches anymore. And so, yeah, this is a GTM in spirit, and it uses GTM bits, and it uses mini bits. There's only really 2 GTM bits in there. There's the body and the floor, and because our floor was dead, we've made a new one. But in France, there's a common misconception that you can't register modified cars. You can't. They don't like it. But there are loads of low number manufacturer companies.
Low volume.
That's the word. Low volume manufacturer companies. Companies like Gianarelli. There's a company that still produces Citroen Maharis.
Yeah.
Mahari Club Cassis. They make an electric Mahari.
Yeah.
There's loads of companies like that. There's companies that make beach buggies and all sorts. We've got a big list. And there's homologation certifications for that. Although my plan for this is to use it as my UK car because I really want to spend more time in the UK making videos and stuff as well as time here because it's only 3 hours away. It's as easy to go for me to go to the UK as it is for me to go to the south of France.
Yeah, because it's bang in the middle.
Exactly. So when Goodwood's on and stuff like that, I really want to go up there and like. Classic car show in the NEC and all that, Bewley, and like there's loads of places in England I've always wanted to go.
A few track days as well.
Oh yeah, but I really want to as well. I really want to have a big GTM show. Like when we build this, the GTM community have been amazing to this car and to me. And it'd be really nice to have a big GTM meetup and make some videos with them and stuff and show how they're all different because every single one's different and they're awesome and it's a lovely group of people. So the next one is... Okay. I edit that bits out.
Going back to the other question, one word of advice. If you are thinking of modifying your car, find out about the rules first.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to spend a bunch of money and then find out that you've got to put it back.
Yeah. Well, it's like this. We'll have to put a catalytic converter on it and stuff like that.
Well, that's
and all of that, like because it will be a 2021. It won't be a whatever it was. Autoverse says, although the car is being primarily built as a road car, would you consider entering into motorsport events, perhaps a hill climb, maybe? Yes.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
My plan for this car is to drive it as much as humanly possible. That includes Nürburgring, that includes Spa would be cool.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Spa's a cooler track than Nürburgring because it's got elevation change and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's loads of cool circuits in France. We've got local circuits as well. And
there's like Chateau Rouge on nearest one, which is only, I don't know, 40 minutes away.
Yeah, a bit more than that, but yeah. In this, 40 minutes away. In the 2CV, considerably longer. It's like a day trip. But yeah, yes is the answer. Paul White. So, why did you change the name? Well, the name of the channel's changed. The name of this channel is no longer The Oliver Pickard, it's Oliver Pickard.
Yep.
Shall I tell the story of why I called it The Oliver Pickard? It's a very short one. I typed in Oliver Pickard into YouTube and there was a guy dancing in his underwear that wasn't me. So, yeah, Oliver Pickard that dances in your underwear. One, stop it and please delete the video. But also, that's why I did it, so that I didn't get confused with that guy. But now you type in it into YouTube and it just comes up with me. I've got rid of the because it sounded a bit big-headed. And I do have an incredibly large head, but...
And the reason you changed the name
of this? Yeah. The reason I changed the name of this is because somebody wrote me an email and asked me to change it, and
Because there were one too many things called Pandora.
yeah.
Because there's a big...
There's a jewellery company, there's a music streaming service, there's a shipping company, there's all sorts.
Yeah.
And yeah, somebody asked me very nicely to change it, and I went, yeah, no problem.
That's because they were scared of the competition.
Yeah, exactly. We coming up in the world. But also, like, it's not a horrible rot box. It was a horrible rot box, but it's not a horrible rot box. We've got rid of the rotten bits, so it doesn't really fit either. So it was nice to kind of have a rebrand, have a change. We were coming back from a break, and it just seemed like rather than fighting a thing that wasn't worth fighting, it was better to concentrate on building something awesome. Richard, hi Richard, says, glad to see this project continuing. Confused at the engine mount. Surely, I think he's talking about this engine mount.
Yeah.
Surely it needs to be as far away as possible.
Well, no, it actually doesn't. It needs to be as close to the engine as possible. Because the reason is, this is the polyurethane bush, and it's quite flexible. It's not super rigid, right? So if this was mounted near close to the chassis, and this is the engine, and you have a really long lever, so basically,
the lever would go from the center of the crank to the bush.
The centre of this bush. So then if you get a longer lever, and of course if you use a lever on anything, if you use a...
It's like using a pry bar or a crowbar or something to kind of lever it.
Or even taking a lid off a tin of paint with a screwdriver. You can't physically do it with your fingers. Because but if you use a long lever, you can get it off.
And if this engine's being revved, it does have a bit of kick to it. And so you're dealing with the inertial forces of that amplified by a lever, basically. And we thought, Honda made a front mount for this engine, and the front mount for this engine is super, super tight as well. And they did that for a reason. So we heeded the wisdom of Honda, because they spent a lot more money developing that mount than we have.
Yeah.
Okay, Del UK says, I'm more concerned that the engine is more or less hard-mounted, and that the amount of vibration and noise that is transferred to the cage cum chassis will be more than desirable. In a race car, that's less of an issue, but on a road car, right.
Back to this bush again.
Yeah, it's squishy.
Squishy.
It's not the squishiest one they make. They do a super squishy one.
But with such a tight space in there, you'd be running into all sorts of problems. If the engine moved too much, it would be hitting all over the place. So yeah, this is a polyurethane, and it's
reasonably squishy. It's not hard mounted at all. Although this thing does have a resonant frequency, because everything has a resonant frequency. I mean, if you flick it, it does have a bit of a ping to it. Ow. And of course, the stiffer you make something, the more of a resonant frequency it has. And we're trying to make this a very stiff chassis. My finger really hurts. Now, we do have plans to lower the resonant frequency of this chassis, and those plans were in there from the beginning. And we are also going to be using dynamite and a bunch of other stuff to lower that resonant frequency, because it's something we are aware of.
And luckily, because the engine's actually in the back, you're actually travelling away from the noise.
Yeah.
From the exhaust noise at least.
Exactly, yeah. Intake's right there, but yeah. We've got a plan. Right, your name's got chopped off by the thing. I'm sorry. I think your name's Ben Carter. Hi, Oliver. When it's finished, will it be difficult to get registered on the road? No. We talked about it a bit before, but it shouldn't be too difficult, because we've read the rules and I've got all the rules printed out and stuff, and it shouldn't be too difficult at all. It'll involve taking to a rolling road first and getting setting the ECU up.
Yeah. So for the emissions.
But this is a modified engine as well.
Yeah.
Like it's got different cams in it and stuff like that, and it's got a different intake on it, and it'll have a different exhaust manifold on it and all that. So it'll have to have the ECU sorted and all of that, and we'll have to test it fully, and then we'll have to trailer it to the testing centre and have it all tested and all that. But it shouldn't be too difficult. It's one of those things. It's more of a process than just buying a car, but less than planning permission on a house. Patrick Scott Vickers says, "Is there a part of the project that worries you? I mean, when you think about that area of your car, your brain skips past and says, 'I'll worry about that later,' because it's going to be a bear. Or do you feel like you two have a good handle on things, on all aspects? I mean, generally," this is actually how it's written. I mean, generally, and that it's only a matter of making it happen, i.e. time that's holding you back.
Yeah, basically it's time.
There is a part of this car that I'm apprehensive about, and that's this engine. It's an unknown quantity. I bought it from a bloke in the UK, and it was supposed to come with an ECU. It didn't come with an ECU, and so what we're going to have to do is before we run it, we're going to have to kind of take it all down and build it back up again, and check everything. Apparently it's never been opened, but it does have a baffled sump in it and stuff like that, so we are going to have to check it all, because I have trust issues. And the first we've done all this, and the first time I start it, I don't want it to go clunk, basically. Are there any particular parts you wish you could have for your project if money were no object, or if the world weren't shut down, i.e. gold bits anywhere?
Throttle bodies would be nice.
Independent throttle bodies would be nice. A spoon engine from Japan. A Honda K20 crate engine that's all blueprinted. That'd be lovely if I had 13 grand to spend on an engine. Yeah. Which I don't. Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be really nice. And there's some...
Maybe a sequential gearbox?
No, I don't want a sequential gearbox. It's too noisy. I want the 6-speed that's in this, because the sequential box for this is only a 5-speed, the Quaif. Yeah, this engine apparently had one originally, and the guy wanted £6,000 for it. And I said no, and bought one for like a couple of £100 from a guy in France. But there's also like aluminium uprights would be nice.
Yeah.
And a milling machine. If we could have a milling machine, that'd be awesome. Because then we could
make aluminium.
Then we could make throttle bodies, and we could make aluminium uprights and stuff like that. Because I'm using MX-5 ones and CRV ones, and I'm allergic to weight. What colour, ideally, would the final result be? Flashy, subtle, calming like Jolene ? Right. So this car was originally designed, the body was originally designed in the late 60s. I think it was 66 or 67. And so it needs to be kind of period correct to then. Because I hate stuff that looks modified. I don't want it to look too Fast and the Furious. And so it has to look period correct for then, but being the late 60s, early 70s means you can go as absolutely crazy as you like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you wanted to paint it orange and purple, that'd be perfectly like period correct. You know what I mean? So there's no real thing, but it's going to be awesome, and that's the only thing I'm going to tell you.
So you have to wait for the upcoming episode.
Yeah, if I tell you anything, there's no point watching. Oh, and he says, thank you all for the work we do. You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. Paul Kitson says, you'll be staring at the gauges, that'll be here, a lot. What do you plan? Old school, like Smiths in the Healy /MG, or something more contemporary? Clothes maketh the man, and ditto the gauges on the dash. Well, that's going to be quite... I've looked at Smith's gauges. I did. I've done a lot of research on a lot of gauges and stuff. The slight issue that we have is that engine revs to 9,000 RPM. Yeah. Try finding a tack that goes past 8 that's a classic tack. So it's going to be something funky, it's going to be something different, it's going to be something custom, but I don't like screens, and I don't like super modern disco gauges. You know what I mean? I don't want dancing dolphins when I start the car or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not just that. When you're driving quick, you need the information to be there.
Yeah, and only the information that you want.
And it only needs to be... So you need to be able to see your rev counter and the road in front of you.
Yeah.
And any warning lights that just have to flash on.
Yeah.
It's no use having an oil pressure gauge without having a warning light.
You see loads of people that have an oil pressure gauge mounted somewhere near their ankle. You know what I mean? Like, people have that many gauges, and everything in the car is doing this, and nobody at 100 miles an hour has ever noticed their oil pressure were dropping. Ever.
Well, if you do 100 miles an hour, your oil pressure dropping, anyway, your engine's knackered. Anyway.
You know what I mean? No, like, yeah, exactly. So there's kind of no. You need to look at motorbikes. Motorbikes are the perfect example.
Yeah.
Because they've got a low fuel warning, they have an oil warning, they have a warning for when you're in neutral, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Like, and most bikes are like that even now. So it's going to be minimalist because we don't have enough room for anything else.
Not just that, they're bloody expensive.
Oh, super expensive. Gauges are insanely expensive. A tack will set you back, at least 350 quid for something cheap.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like a GPS speedo.
Oh yeah, GPS speedos are hideously expensive, and there's lots of parts around here where you don't get a GPS signal.
Yeah.
So it's not going to work. Sorry, officer.
Sorry, it's not my fault. There's no signal.
Yeah, sorry, I've got no signal. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? Although there'd have to be police for that to happen. We do see the police. They drive past about once every 2 weeks and wave.
2 weeks? 2 months?
Yeah. Jan Marco says, I hope it's Jan Marco. Sorry, Jan Marco, if that's not your name. Right. I want to ask you about rust protection. So, how do you plan to treat the metal? Will you only paint the frame carefully or do a chemical treatment before that? We will use paint, not powder coat, because I don't like powder coat on roll cages. It's heavy and you can't see cracks and stuff, can you?
Nope.
And also we'd have to find a place that could powder coat something this large in rural France. And being in the middle of nowhere, it would be prohibitively expensive because literally it would require hotels and stuff in order
to trailer it there, get it done, and then trailer it back. So
yeah, it would be ridiculous. But we do have a cunning plan now. Something I can tell, and I'm not going to tell you what we're going to paint it with, but something I can tell you is, Dad wanted us to paint the roll cage matte black because
it's a reflection.
Yeah, reflections. Because if the sun catches it, like anybody who has chrome windscreen wipers will tell you that if the sun shines on your windscreen wipers, it's absolutely blinding. However, we've thought of another colour, but that's all I'm going to tell you. Electric GT6 says, I love the build and your videos. Thank you. Personal question. Why are you in France? You don't sound very French. Really? Right.
But I can still get my subscription to A Up magazine.
Right. Is that a Wallace and Gromit reference?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like middle-aged spread.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right. First one's first. Why are we in France?
Because we like it.
Yeah.
No, beautiful summers. You get the seasons.
I'm not British anymore either. No. I left the UK when I was a young teenager, and I ain't going back. No, I left the UK when I was a young teenager, and I've always loved being in France, and I've always loved my time in France. I love the people in France. I love the sense of community. I love the fact that it's big enough that it's still rural, because you've got whatever you've got, like 4 times the area of the UK with the same population or something like that. So yeah, I love being in France. I love the French people. My partner's not English either, so like, I don't know. I obviously am unavoidably British, but I couldn't unavoidably British. There's a quote. But I don't feel British, and there are days when I go full days without speaking English unless I speak to my mum and dad. So it's one of those things.
It's the weather as well.
Yeah,
the weather makes a huge difference. Where we used to live in the UK, the north of England, if it wasn't raining,
it was about to. Yeah, but yeah, that's why we don't sound very French.
And not just that. To get a place like we've got here in the UK where we used to live,
oh yeah,
you're talking over £1 million pounds.
Yeah, because we do share a garden and all that. Like we're a close family and we wanted something that was all together, aren't we? Which is why he's been next to a neighbour. Pick your neighbours, people.
Yeah. And it's a big workshop.
Yeah.
And this is only like you've seen the upstairs. We've got two more floors.
Yeah, they've seen the barn and all that. Yeah. But we have done videos on that. But the thing is that we've got an acre of land. We've got we've got a lovely garden that we grow loads of fruit and veg in. We've got 2 lovely houses. They're not the world's biggest houses, but they don't need to be.
They don't need to be. What's the point of having a house where you got a room that
where you don't use half of the rooms?
You just fill it full of junk.
And just like this car, or my 2CV, or your 2CV, it's kind of an operation in not minimalism, but kind of just cutting the cloth to your size of your pocket and just having what you need and nothing extra.
Yeah. So you can afford to do things like this.
Yeah. And
we've got no electricity bills.
No.
Because the whole place is run off solar.
Or water bills.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a thing where, I don't know, it's the freedom of it, and there's a luxury to it of not overextending yourself and just having what you want and what you need, and that's it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So. And I don't think I'd have a bigger house, even if I could have one. I love it here. It's superb, and it was just spot on. It's everything I've ever dreamed of, really. Yeah. So that's why France, and we don't sound French because we're not. We're from the north of England. Ian Christopher says, "What's the gauge of the sheet metal that the gearbox mount is made from? It's a work of art. It will be when it's finished.
When it's finished, there's still quite a lot of work to do yet. There's more components to go in there before I weld it all together to make it, because it's actually 2 mil.
There's some 3 mil in there as well.
2 and 3 mil. But if you make something skeletal like this, it's also got to be engineered structurally.
Yeah.
So you're not just drilling also, there's no strength in it. You're not making it light. You're making it light so you can... It's like... what's it called from Lotus?
Colin Chapman.
Colin Chapman used to lighten things until they broke.
Yeah. And then go back one.
Which is a bit unfair on your drivers, really.
Yeah, it is. Especially when it breaks while they're driving it. But Gordon Murray does the same thing. Like, every single component as light as possible. And I'm not going to edit this bit out. There's a tractor going past. But also, I like things really skeletal. There's a really famous guitar maker who made like Kurt Cobain's Blue guitar and all that, like loads of really famous people's guitars. Mm-hmm. And he said the perfect guitar is the guitar that's almost falling apart constantly. Like, it's only just held together. It's as strong as it needs to be, and not a single bit stronger because it affects the resonance. Yeah. And one of my pet peeves is people who call cars over-engineered, right? And they go like, Lord of Neva, well over-engineered. It lasts for... No, it's not. It's under-engineered. It's way heavier than it needs to be, and it's a lump. And I kind of hate that. I hate stuff that's all like really under-engineered. That's over-engineered because you've spent flipping ever figuring it out. And also, in the event of an incident, it will fold sideways rather than trying to turn into a spear. And obviously, I'm not that far from the engine, so if it can absorb impact rather than just transmitting it to your spine, that's better.
Yeah, it's never going to come through these bars.
Nope.
Put it that way.
Or through the firewall, because there is a firewall to go in there as well. Oh God. Why do you make these names so complicated, people? Third Hon Camba. Chamba? Says, how do you envisage the finished interior to look like, and will any modern concessions that we take for granted make it into the cockpit? And what are you thinking regarding the soundproofing, raw or refined? Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Right. There'll be a ton of sound deadening. Well, not a ton. There'll be like several. No,
it'll be
several kilos of sound deadening, because you can't have sound deadening without density. That's the thing that nobody tells you. Like all really good sound deadening is dense, and dense is heavy. And so we're actually building this car underweight purposefully, so we can add a load of like a thing of dynamite, which I have in my 2CV, which is excellent sound deadening. A box of dynamite's like over 8 kilos. Yeah. And so yes, we are adding density to the car to get it quieter, because I don't want to go
still trying to keep it as light as possible.
Yeah, but I would rather build it as light as possible and then kind of add weight in sound insulation, because I think you get that back up to a point. Yeah. But yeah, there'll be heat insulation, there'll be sound insulation. and I have no plans on suffering. I want to drive this thing long distances, and we can do, because this engine out of VTEC, I was looking at the power curves this morning of what this engine should kind of make, and under VTEC, so 4,000 RPM, it should make about 120 horsepower quietly and smoothly before it goes on like the Rorty Raucous cam. And so it makes more power than like the hottest of hot mini A series engines.
Yep.
But it's got a 6-speed gearbox. And so that should be quite smooth and quite refined, and kind of not bring a load of noise into the cabin as well.
Yeah.
So there's also that. So yeah, quiet and smooth. And for the interior, the only thing I don't want is for it to be really dark. Obviously there'll be holes drilled and everything. But my one big thing about this car, or any car for that matter, is the fact that I hate dark interiors. I really do detest them. And this is a tiny interior, isn't it? I mean, I even though it's got such a big glass area, I don't plan on it being dark. I'll tell you that much. But it will be minimal and reasonably easy to get in and out and stuff like that. And but no cup holders. I have a thing against cup holders, as people on Twitter will know. I detest cup holders in all their forms. Like, stop at a nice cafe and have a nice cup of coffee, and take it easy. So thank you for all your questions. It's always nice to hear from you. I always enjoy these videos. I really do. Is
that it?
Yeah, that's it. That's the people.
Oh, right.
I don't want to go on for like 2 hours, and I've kind of I'm sorry if your comment didn't make it into this video, but I've kind of like edited down to make sure that we get this in a reasonable, uploadable time scale.
Yep.
Because my bum's going numb.
It is. This bar in the middle of my back is like cold.
Yeah. That's a modern concession that'll be making it into this car.
Yeah, seats.
Modern bucket seats.
Yep.
Like modern, nice bucket seats that they're not going to be super modern. I've kind of bought them already. My friend's got them in his garage. Hi, Anthony. But yeah, modern, nice bucket seats that are comfortable and supportive, and not like headrestless retro bucket seats that you end up with a stiff neck when you've been sat on the motorway for an hour. But yeah, thank you all for your comments and all for your questions. It's always nice to hear from you. It's a weird thing making YouTube videos. It's something you're still getting used to, into the fact that we make these videos and you kind of put them out there, but you don't make a physical thing. It's not like this roll cage or whatever. It's not a thing that you can show people and go, look, I made this. And so the numbers on the page don't really equate the amount of people that are watching and stuff like that. So it's really nice to hear from you. So thank you all for commenting and your questions and stuff. We always read them, every single one, even if I don't get time to answer every single one of them. And your support of this channel really means something to us. It really helps us build this car. So thank you for clicking the bell icon and sharing videos with your friends and clicking like and subscribing and all that. Because this series so far is our most successful series. These last 4 videos have been some of our most successful videos ever, and that's down to our work, but it's also down to you all for sharing these videos with your friends, like I say, and watching them and enjoying them and all of that. So thank you for your lovely words and compliments and stuff. It's always nice here, and it's always great motivation, isn't it?
Yep.
So thank you all for watching.
Yep.
Please be awesome to each other. And we'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.